Good evening, students. Today we will discuss the fourth chapter of 7th class history, that is the Mughal Empire. We will discuss about an empire which have a very important place in Indian history because it changed not only the political scenario of India but the cultural developments were also made at that time. So we will discuss about the Mughal Empire. Basically, in this chapter, we will see some points. The very first is we will discuss about the Sultanate period. A brief discussion about Sultanate period. After it, we will discuss about the creation of an empire. And basically, in this creation of an empire, we will discuss about the founder of the Mughal Empire, that was Babur, his descendants Humayun. After it, we will discuss about Akbar, the greatest Mughal ruler, and Akbar was followed by Jahangir. So we will discuss about Jahangir, Shah Jahan, and later on we will discuss about Aurangzeb, the last powerful Mughal empire in India, the last powerful Mughal emperor in India. And after it we will discuss about the Mughals administration. In which basically we will discuss about Mansabdars and Jagirdars. We will discuss about religious policies. And after it we will see about taxes. We know that ruling as large a territory as the Indian subcontinent with such a diversity of people and cultures was an extremely difficult task for any ruler to accomplish in the Middle Ages. Quite in contrast to their predecessors, the Mughals created an empire and accomplished what had hitherto seemed possible for any short periods of time. From the later half of the 16th century, they expanded their kingdom from Agra and Delhi, and until in the 17th century, they controlled nearly all of the subcontinent. When Mughals came in India, at that time India was being ruled by sultans, and the time period from 1206 to 1526 is known as the Sultanate time period. Now the question arises why this particular time period was known as the Sultanate time period. We can see from 1206 to 1526, the state, or we can say the region, was divided among different sultanates, and the rulers who were ruling at that time took the title of sultan. That's why that time period was known as the Sultanate time period. And the Sultanate time period was basically started by slave dynasty. Why by slave dynasty? In 1192, when Muhammad Ghori defeated Prithviraj III in the second battle of Tarai, at that time he left his slave Qutubuddin Aibak in India to administrate the whole territory which was captured by Muhammad Ghori. And after the death of Muhammad Ghori in 1206, his slave Qutubuddin Aibak declared himself as the Sultan of that area, and he founded a dynasty. As he was a slave, that's why the dynasty was named as a slave dynasty. The dynasty was established by Qutubuddin Aibak, and the last powerful ruler of that dynasty was Balban. This dynasty was followed by Khilji dynasty, and Khilji dynasty was founded by Jalaluddin Khilji, and a famous ruler of that Khilji dynasty was Alauddin Khilji. And after it, Tughlaq dynasty was formed. Ghayasuddin Tughlaq established Tughlaq dynasty, and Firoz Shah Tughlaq was the last powerful ruler of that Tughlaq dynasty. After these three dynasties, the later two dynasties that is Sayyid dynasty and Lodi dynasty. These dynasties were Afghan dynasty. Sayyid dynasty was established by Khizr Khan, and Lodi dynasty was established by Behlol Lodi, followed by Ibrahim Lodi. In 1526, Babur was invited in India to attack on Ibrahim Lodi as Daulat Khan Lodi was not satisfied. So he invited Babur to invade and capture the territory. As he had a perception, Daulat Khan Lodi had a perception that Babur would come and would rob, and after it he would go. But Babur came in India and he defeated Ibrahim Lodi in the famous first battle of Panipat in 1526, and he formed his dynasty, that was Mughal dynasty. Now we will see who were the Mughals. If we see the Mughals, who were the Mughals? Basically, Mughals were the descendants of Genghis Khan and Taimur the Lame. From their maternal side, or we can say from their mother's side, and from their father's side, they were the descendants of two famous dynasties. From their mother's side, they were the descendants of Genghis Khan, and from their father's side, they were the descendants of Taimur the Lame, who invaded Delhi in 1398. The Mughals were descendants of two great lineages of rulers. From their mother's side, as we have discussed, they were the descendants of Genghis Khan, who was the ruler of the Mongol tribes, China and Central Asia. From their father's side, they were the successor of Taimur the Lame, who died in 1404. And Taimur the Lame was the ruler of Iran, Iraq and modern day Turkey. However, the Mughals did not like to be called Mughals or Mongols. Why? Because this was, or we can say because Genghis Khan's memory was associated with a massacre of innumerable people. It was also linked with the Uzbeks, their Mongol competitors. On the other hand, Mughals had proud of their Timurid ancestry because Taimur captured Delhi in 1398. They celebrated their genealogy pictorially also, like each ruler getting a picture made of Taimur and himself. Now we will see formation of Mughal Empire. Babur was the founder of Mughal dynasty. He founded Mughal dynasty in 1526. As he defeated Ibrahim Lodi in the first battle of Panipat. In 1526, the first battle of Panipat was fought between Ibrahim Lodi and Babur at Panipat, which is about 100 km from Delhi. Even though Ibrahim Lodi's army was larger, but Babur won the battle. Babur won the war due to a number of reasons. The very first is he had excellent generals and he himself was a very capable military leader. The second one is he had a well-trained cavalry, and the third one is his artillery used firearms, which Ibrahim Lodi's army was not familiar with. His army, though small, but well organized and disciplined. Ibrahim Lodi was killed by Babur, who occupied Delhi and Agra and became the emperor of India. If we look the history of Babur, we can see at the age of 11 he became the ruler of Fargana. That was his birthplace and a small kingdom in Central Asia. And this place in present is in modern Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. He was driven out from his kingdom by his uncles, and in 1504 he conquered Kabul. When Daulat Khan Lodi invited him to India, he did not want to miss the opportunity of conquering India. That's why Babur accepted the invitation of Ibrahim Lodi. Not Ibrahim Lodi. That's why he accepted the invitation of Daulat Khan and defeated Ibrahim Lodi. This resulted in Rana Sanga of Mewar and many Afghan nobles turning against him, because even though they invited him to India, but they had not expected him to stay. They think that power would come and robbed, and after it he would go. A year later, it means in 1527, Babur fought the Battle of Khanwa against Rana Sanga, and he defeated Rana Sanga once again. Later he conquered Gwalior, Dholpur and other places also. The second famous battle that was fought by Babur was Battle of Khanwa. That was fought between Babur and Rana Sanga. And this battle was fought in 1527. As we have discussed that Rana Sanga and Daulat Khan Lodi had hoped that Babur would return to Kabul after defeating the Delhi Sultan. However, having conquered Delhi and Agra, Babur decided to stay on in India. And in 1527, Rana Sanga, angered by Babur's decision, he formed a confederacy of Rajput princes and led them in battle against Babur. Babur and Rana Sanga met at the Battle of Khanwa near Fatehpur Sikri. Though Rana Sanga had a much larger force, Babur defeated them with his use of artillery and superior military tech. These two victories put Babur firmly on the throne of Delhi. After defeating the Rajputs, Babur turned east and defeated the Afghans on the banks of river Ghagra. Babur now controlled an empire which stretched from Kabul to present-day Bihar, and he made Delhi the capital of his empire. In our next part, we will discuss about Babur's character and his contribution in the field of architecture, and we will also see the empire of Babur on India's map.